In this video I'm going to show you the last two games played between Magnus and MVL in the AI Cup Champions Chess Tour Grand Final Rest. Magnus beats MVL in semi-final of AI Cup. MVL bounce back with Grest victory over Nepo. He is ready to face Magnus Carlsen in Grand Final. In this game, Magnus starts with pawn to d4, queen's pawn opening. MVL plays d5 and Magnus played c4 going for queen's gambit. MVL takes the pawn and queen gambit accepted. Carlsen played e4, e5, knight to f3, bishop to b4, knight to c3, knight to f6. Magnus takes the pawn at e5 and threatening to take c4 as well. MVL plays a great move b5, defending the pawn and makes space for his light square bishop. Magnus plays f3, MVL short castles, a3 played by Magnus, bishop to a5 and bishop to e3 played by Magnus, c5, Carlsen takes the pawn, queens to e8 attack on knight. Magnus played queen to d6, bishop to e6, Carlsen goes for long castle, queen to c8 lining queen to c-file, Magnus take b4, a6, and knight to d4. Now MVL played a brilliant move, bishop to c7, and white queens has only one move but it loses a full piece. And Magnus goes for queen sacrifice, takes two pieces and two pawns against a queen. Evaluation bar likes the Magnus post ion. If Magnus somehow coordinate his pieces, then a great attack on black's king. Magnus once places rook to h1 with the idea of checkmate in one. But black's queens covers all important squares, and Magnus loses the game. In the last few moves, black's g-pawn is so strong and white had no moves to stop it from queening, and Magnus hoping for some last-minute blunder by MVL, but MVL played brilliantly against Magnus. In this game MVL starts with e4, c4 played by Magnus goes for Sicilian defense. MVL only needs a draw to win AI Cup. MVL played knight to c3, e6, d4 and Magnus capture a pawn so that he can control open c-file. MVL takes back with knight, a6, c4, knight to f6, knight to c3, queen to c7, a3, b6, bishop to d3, bishop to b7, MVL castles, bishop to d6, f4 by MVL, bishop to c5 pinning the knight, bishop to e3 defends it, knight to c6 attacks the knight, knight retreats back to c2, d3, queen to d2. Magnus castles, rook to e1, knight to g4, bishop takes bishop on c5, Carlsen takes back with d5, e5, rook to d8, queen to e2, knight to h6, rook to d1, knight to d4, knight traded. MVL played knight to e4, knight to f6 by Magnus, rook to f3, bishop takes knight, white's recaptures with bishop, and MVL made a mistake, bishop sacrificed by MVL, rook to h3 check, queen to h5 threatening checkmate and one, queen to h7, and MVL played a brilliant move, rook to h6 and Magnus resign.